What's up everyone, my name is Alissa Cincotta and this weekend we're going to be doing some self-portraits in our home in O'Fallon, Illinois using the Westcott FJ80, the Westcott FJ200, and I'm going to show you how to do two things with off-camera flash here. You don't need an assistant, you don't need anybody around. This is the perfect time to brush up on your off-camera flash skills and maybe even learn some new lighting skills and get comfortable in front of the camera, because if you are comfortable in front of the camera, you are able to explain the experience to your clients. So there are two looks I want to do. The first one is that edgy, very harsh light look. Second one I want to do is a little bit softer, and I'll probably end up using the FJ200 with that, with the Octa M softbox. And that one I want to do a very soft light portrait, almost mimicking the look of natural light pouring in. First things first, I've got two things I want to do before I get, actually three things. I want to set up my scene, make sure I've got all my props set exactly where I want them, and then get kind of dialed in on the light just to get a general idea of where I want to go. Step two, I got to go get hair and makeup done. I'm going to do that myself, but I'm going to go do that next. And then step three, have a glass of wine so I can chill out and enjoy this. Stay tuned. Okay, can we talk about something for a minute real quick? Is it just me, or is it every time you are gonna do a photo shoot, you've got a big thing going on the next day, life decides to be like, no, not today? What is that? What is that? What's happening? I wanted to wait until the light was completely dark so that I could create this moodiness with the FJ80 that I brought into the scene, and I had all the fairy lights and our lamp in the background was turned on, so I had this warmth. So what I ended up putting on the FJ80 was the grid and then a full CTO gel to really make sure all the light that was hitting me was very controlled and also the same toning as the rest of the image. So there are times where it's nice, it looks nice to mix colors, different color light in your image, but for me, with a picture like that, it wouldn't make any sense to have all this warmth in the image from the lamp, from the fairy lights, the red in the florals that were kind of in the scene where I hung the fairy lights on top of. All of that warmth, it would make no sense to be throwing in light that is daylight balanced, and it just needed something extra in there to make it all fit together. The lighting, I would say, took the longest to get dialed in, especially when you're having to run back and forth with self-portraits. The whole point is to not have anybody around watching you, for me at least. So that took a little bit longer than I expected, or I guess longer than I had hoped. But once it was dialed in, it was off to the races. I would say the other challenge I had last night, the biggest challenge probably of everything, was making sure that the camera caught my eye and kept that face tracking, focusing, because I had the foreground and then I had stuff in the background, and it was a very busy scene. And the camera could keep up for the most part, but the second I started putting stuff in front of the lens, it naturally, I can't really expect anything less. So as soon as the flowers and the fairy lights were in front of the lens, it wanted to catch that as the focus. So, and when you're that far away and you're flipping your little, your LCD screen from your camera over, you're very limited to what you can see. There's no way I could tell if it was in focus or not. So it was a lot of like, take 10 to 15 pictures, go check it out. Is it even in focus? If not, try again. So that's what you want to make sure you're doing. Take a few pictures just in case it is in focus and you can nail the expression. If you're feeling yourself in that moment, take a few shots, go to the camera, make sure it's in focus, make sure you like the way you're looking, adjust. It's a lot of that back and forth. So even when you have your light dialed in, even when you have your scene dialed in, you still have to keep going back and forth to make sure everything's in focus. Today, this morning, what I decided to do was, we've got a really long hallway upstairs and it's dark. There are no windows, but our gym upstairs, if I let that door open, there's this beautiful natural light that leaks in. So I wanted to create this mood where I'm backlit by the natural light coming in. I'm sitting on the floor, and that backlight is just kind of making the flowers I had in the scene pop. So I didn't want those to go too dark. I could have used strobe back there, but I didn't. I wanted to mix strobe and ambient here. So I started off thinking I was going to cool the scene down and add CTO gel just to kind of play with some toning in the image. It looked terrible. You know, don't fight it. If you take a picture and it doesn't look visually, I'm not talking technically, if you look at the picture and it's not what you wanted, don't spend hours trying to force something that's not right. So instead what I did here, I took the CTO gel off completely. So I just used a grid on the FJ80, and I just put the camera back to 5200 Kelvin. So I just made sure everything was daylight balanced. And the scene is just so pretty and moody, and I had that FJ80 right up on me, so it was kind of feathering across my body and not just blasting me in the face. So it's really important that you know your settings, you know how to create something that you can go in and tweak in post-production. You know, if I want my face a little bit brighter, but I've got this like painterly feel from that very, very, very soft and subtle light that's just kind of washing over the front part of my body in the scene. And then you've got that backlight coming in from the gym on the background. It's just kind of enhancing. I don't know, to me, I look at that shot and I'm like, what's back there? So it's the lines and the lights and the shadows that are leading you to this like unknown place. What's going on in that room back there? Promise nothing fun. All right, so that is a wrap. Top 5 tips for taking self-portraits. Number 1, go in with a plan. A plan is like, these are my 2 concepts. I know I want to do this kind of light and this kind of light. Have them kind of contrast each other so you can have a little bit of fun. The whole point of this exercise is to brush up on your lighting, so don't do the same thing for every single concept. So that's number 1, have a plan. Doesn't mean you have to stick to that plan exactly. I'm not talking go in and script like I'm gonna sit down at a 45-degree angle and hold my arm this way and the light's gonna come. Have an overall idea of what you wanna do, and then the whole point is to experiment from there. Number 2, tip number 2, charge your freaking batteries, man. Like rookie move. So I had planned for this morning to use the FJ200 and the Octa-M softbox to create a really nice soft light, but you know, fortunately and unfortunately I didn't get to use the FJ200 in my weekend selfie shoot, but I was still able to create some really, really magical light using the FJ80. So it made me think maybe the FJ200 would have been a little bit too much light because we are in this very small, narrow space with very, very, very little natural light coming in. Tip number 3. So this tip is more about you as a person, not so much about your photo skills, but understanding makeup. And this is something that's really good to be able to communicate to your clients now that you've experienced yourself. So you want to make sure your makeup is on point, man, because you don't want to spend so much time in Photoshop fixing. That's what I'm saying this about light, I'm saying this about composition, and I'm also saying this about your makeup. If you have to communicate stuff like this to your clients about how to do their makeup and preparing for their photo shoot, the thing that I would like to tell you is more is more. Not less is more. More is right, actually. That's a better way to say it. More is right. More is correct. I don't know. You get my point here. I'm talking like heavy, heavy contour. Stay away from shine. Don't use highlighter at all because that's just going to make you look oily in the pictures. You can always go in and add the look of highlighter in post-production if you want that look. But contouring, you're gonna give yourself, especially as you're using artificial light to shape your body, you're gonna be shaping your jawline too. So really, really enhance that contour here, here, and under your chin. Man, somebody on YouTube once told me that I need to have a snatched jawline, and I think that's what they meant. All right, the next tip I have is about posing. Posing is probably the most awkward thing to do when you're by yourself because you feel like you're performing, but then there's no audience, but then there's just a camera stuck in your face and you're doing all sorts of weird acrobatics. I'm talking like your back is bent, but your knees are bent, but don't forget to point your toes and have a good expression, all while you're thinking about these 800 different things going on. So posing, I think, is really, really, really important, especially if you're gonna be doing this kind of photography. Like, I wouldn't necessarily call this boudoir, maybe a little bit of glamour, just very feminine portraiture. You want to pose in these poses. So if you're expecting your clients to do this and be comfortable and you have no idea what it's like, come on, man. So these poses freaking hurt. I mean, I was trembling in some of them, but it's all about your angles. So if you can explain to your clients, now that you know, now that you've experienced the experience you're giving to your clients, if you can explain to them how to pose and like, yeah, it's gonna hurt for a minute, just push through, I swear it's gonna be worth it. And then the whole point from there, flip that camera around and show them how it was worth it. And then they're mentally invested in this. So for me, I was doing a pose and I thought I was like bending hard. Oh my God, I'd go look in the camera and I'm like, I look ridiculous. Or I thought I was like really smiley. And then all of my pictures, I have resting bitch face. So that's fun. That's what you have to learn about yourself. And you have to learn how to communicate that to your clients, which this whole exercise was learning about an experience we want to be able to give to our clients. Another tip I have is setting the mood, and that comes in many different forms. I'd say first and foremost, you're setting the mood with your lighting. So anybody can take a natural light portrait. I think what will elevate your work from everybody else, all the rest of the photographers in the world, is that you can create a mood whenever, wherever. You don't need natural light. You don't need giant windows with natural light pouring in. That's what I've got right here. I mean, it's beautiful and it's easy, but we have to stop being lazy as photographers. You need to be able to recreate the lighting in any situation, whether you have windows or don't have windows, whether you have north light or west light or whatever it is. You need to be able to know your gear well enough that you can create these scenes in this mood for your clients. So not only is it with your lighting, it's with your set design. So get creative. I mean, we are photographers. We have the best jobs in the world. We get to create visual magic for our clients. So take some time and create a full set. What I would recommend doing here is get a set created, multiple sets created, and then you don't have to mess around with the details when you have actual paying clients. So this is why self-portraits are good again. You can create sets on yourself and then keep them set up in your studio space, or take a picture of the setup so you can recreate it the next time you have a client photo shoot. So I hope this inspired you guys to get out there and try some self-portraits. It's super awkward, but it's awesome because all you have to do is make sure your spouse, your significant other, your cat, your dog, your kids, I don't care, kick them out. Have a weekend to yourself. If you can't do a weekend, fit it into one day. And here's also one more bonus tip.
Bonus round.
Your progression, this should be true for clients and for yourself. Your progression, if you're gonna do it in one day, one time period, should be this gradual approach. So you should start, don't do what I did. I did it backwards. You should start with your lighter look with your makeup, hair and makeup. Something, if your hair is gonna be up eventually, start with the outfit where your hair is down, where your makeup's a little bit lighter, and then build to the more dramatic stuff. Because like last night, I had bright red lips. There's no coming back from red lips, let's be honest. So start lighter, build up to the more dramatic looks being hair and makeup. So anyway, again, I hope you guys love this. Please check out the Westcott FJ80. I was using their universal trigger to trigger the FJ80. The Westcott system is beautiful, and I only wish that I could have gotten into using the FJ200 this weekend, but maybe on my next self-portrait.